You know, a lot of people have asked me whether or not they should put their money into a Roth versus a traditional IRA or 401k. If that's a question you have, let's talk about that in the next video. So welcome to Wealth and Whiskey. I'm Roger Kiger. I've been a financial planner for about 30 years, helping people build wealth and protect our legacies. Wealth and Whiskey is about sharing ideas that maybe you don't hear about from everybody else, or maybe you just don't want to read through some AI chatbot, right? But today, I want to answer a question I've been asked about, and I had a meeting with some good friends of mine just last week about this, and they said, we're not sure where we should save money. The question was whether or not they should put money in a Roth IRA or traditional. So today we're going to talk about how to do that and where to get the most tax benefit, right? So there's a lot to that question, and it depends really on your income and your tax bracket. So the first thing I always tell people is when you're saving money, you need to make sure you have your cash reserve built first. Once you build that, leave it there, it stays there. That has no bearing on this discussion, because I'm assuming that you've already got the cash reserve built and saved somewhere. So on the Roth versus traditional discussion, my answer is actually neither. I think the very first place you should save money is in an HSA account, a health savings account. How does that make sense? If you are HSA eligible, which means you have a high deductible healthcare plan, you can make a contribution to an HSA plan for you and your spouse in a tax-deductible way for money that's tax-deductible going in and tax-free going out. So you get the benefits of a Roth IRA and the benefits of a traditional IRA. All tax-free growth, tax-deductible going in, and there is no type of retirement plan that allows you to do that. So first and foremost, look at your health insurance plan. See if you are eligible to make an HSA contribution. If you can, do that first. It's a really big benefit that I think is very often overlooked. Now, let's answer the question about a Roth versus traditional. And in one of the previous videos, I talked about managing your tax brackets, right? So, and I think that same discussion applies to where you need to put your money for retirement savings. For example, if you're in a tax bracket or you're bumped up into a higher bracket from a small amount of money, maybe you're making, $225,000 and you want to be in a lower bracket, maybe you can defer enough into a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA that reduces your taxable income. So I think that's the key, is to look at where you are on the tax rate chart and see if you can put money in that's at a higher tax rate to get your brackets a little bit lower. So if you do that and you put money in a traditional and it lowers your tax bracket, that's great, right? You don't pay your 24 or your 32% tax on your income today because you've gotten that deduction. Fast forward 5, 10, 15, 20 years where you've been funneling money into this retirement account. Now you've got this big bucket that's taxable when you take it out as you retire. That creates its own issues. You have higher required distributions, right? It's all taxable income as you take it out. So do not lose sight of the fact that you can do Roth conversions a little bit at a time in your 60s, maybe after you retire, between age 65 when you're retired and age 73 when you have to start taking your required distributions. That also is a time gap that most people overlook. Well, you're in retirement income phase, you're taking income, you don't want to pay tax. Well, if you pay tax at a lower rate than you had while you were working, maybe that's okay because you got the deduction while you were working as you were putting money into this account. Do small Roth conversions every year between your 60s and 70s so that it reduces the amount you have to take out at age 73. So again, Let me repeat. If you're putting money in your early high income years to reduce your taxable earnings and reduce your tax bracket, make sure you have a plan to do Roth conversions in your later years before you have to start taking it out at the IRS's schedule when you have no control over what that does to your tax bracket. So that's a problem we've seen many times with people that are funneling money into retirement accounts pre-tax, right? So that's how I usually answer that question. Because if your income is low enough that you're not in, say, a 32% tax rate, 24% is not great, but it's not a bad tax rate. I think anything that's a tax rate of 24% or lower, go ahead and put the money into a Roth, because I think it's unlikely you'll get a whole lot lower of a tax bracket than that over the rest of your life. So for me, that's the break point, is if you can get, if you're in a relatively low tax bracket that's 24% or lower, maybe a Roth is probably okay. If you're in a 32% bracket or higher, by all means, funnel as much as you can into your 401k, your IRA, or anything that's pre-tax, because it will reduce the amount of taxable income that you have every year. Just be sure that you have a plan to do some Roth conversions before age 73 when you have to take that money out. Because at that point, it's affecting your tax on your Social Security, and those required distributions by themselves can put you up into a higher tax rate. And that's one of the things we're trying to avoid. So if you're in your high income years, you're trying to figure out where to put money to get some benefits from taxes. Do I put it in a Roth? Do I put it in a traditional IRA or 401k? That's the framework for how we answer that question, right? Remember to have your cash reserve built first. Make sure to look at the HSAs, because that's a hugely overlooked piece of savings that most people aren't aware about. Then look at your tax brackets and your income and figure out where to put money, whether it's a Roth versus a traditional. And for a lot of people, that varies every year. It could vary based on bonuses that you're making in a year. It could vary based on other expenses. So if you have a huge tax deduction in a year, well, that's a great year if you're in a low rate to go ahead and put some money in a Roth. Use those deductions to accelerate some of your Roth contributions. That's the ultimate goal, is to get that funding into a tax-free account where you've already paid the tax. So anyway, hope that helps. Remember, any of your questions are always okay. I know this takes a lot of work, a lot of detail, and financial success just takes time and patience, right? So start your journey by downloading our Legacy Blueprint in the link below. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel, because we don't want you to miss any of our discussions. So I'm Roger Kiger. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Wealth and Whiskey video. Cheers.